Our next guest is on a mission to help us all better understand our finances and put pounds in our pockets.
And broadcaster Steph McGovern is doing just that on a hit podcast, The Rest is Money, which has had an incredible 7 million downloads. I mean, how do you even compute
I know,
that?
I can't. I know, because when I think about it, I just think maybe, like, my mum and dad will listen and that'll be about it. And then you're like, 7 million, where did they all come from?
It comes from quite a salubrious stable, though, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
You know, Gary Lineker is taking over the world with podcasting. The rest is football, the rest is entertainment,
the rest is history, which is obviously where the phrase comes from in the first place.
The rest is politics.
Yes.
The rest is politics US.
Yeah.
I think I listened to all of them as well.
Did you?
Did you get sucked in?
Yeah, but they're brilliantly made. I think I love podcasts. I love long-form interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
And I love how you and Robert go about the subject matter in a way, because I'm not brilliant at understanding all that sort of stuff, in a way that I can enjoy and understand.
Do you know what, though? You saying that, I'm not brilliant at understanding all that stuff. Too many people say that, and I think that's the issue, is, like, finance and what's going on in the world with the economy shouldn't be something that people feel like that about. We should all be empowered, because essentially we're all part of it. And so that's kind of why I do it, really, and why Robert does it. We're just like, let's get people to understand so that they can make better decisions about their money, and they can see where it's all going and just see the little tricks everyone uses to try and get you to spend more money, things like that.
I think also because of the language that's used and the jargon, it's almost like it puts people off even getting involved just even a little bit. You don't have to have an economics degree to know what's happening. Yeah,
that is absolutely it. It's that thing, you know, if you look at, for example, I won't go into what it is, but one of our episodes, we did a full series on it, is about limited derivative investments, which you're like, but it's the reason, fundamentally, why we had that whole mini-budget crash with Liz Truss. It's why interest rates went up. It's why all of our mortgages went up, if you have a mortgage. Or, you know, if you rent, possibly why your landlords put the rent up. So we want to kind of break that down and go, you know, it's in the financial institutions' interests for us to not really understand this, because then they can make more money out of us. So let's just try and break it down for you. And we do that, you know, it's quite long form, as you say, Ben. You kind of, you know, we do this over several episodes. But then people can go, oh, all right, it's just that.
Yeah.
And then it's easier to make sense of it.
It's interesting, because we actually had Jamie Oliver on the other day, didn't we? And he was saying, actually, we should be taught in schools how to do basic cooking, like, I don't know, roast a chicken, make a soup, make a frittata, whatever, so that you can always draw on that. I feel like at some stage, you know, people would like to own their own home and get a mortgage, and it's all things that you want to do.
Yeah.
It would be useful for it to be taught.
This is literally my biggest beef in life, is why we don't leave school knowing, like, what council tax is, or what your APR is on a loan, what a mortgage is. Where do you buy all these different things you need in your life, and where's the money going? Like, it would be so good, wouldn't it, if we could left school and we just knew those things. Like, even in business, in the business sense, what's the tax? How do I do my self-assessment?
Yes.
You know, how do I do all these things? I was interviewing the Education Secretary about this kind of thing last week, and it's on the podcast as well, because I think our economy would do so much better if we could all navigate it a bit better and we knew how to do these things.
Well, I've got a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old, so my 19-year-old's just been travelling, and he had to budget his way around the world, and then he's gone to university and he's suddenly having to navigate that budget. And he phoned me up the other day, and he's realised he's only got £5 left for this week because he spent too much money on Monday. And he's gone back and he said he's suddenly having to think about those sorts of things. They had none of that. And he's studying maths, so he loves his numbers and stuff like that. They had none of this practical life skills, certainly with finance. Martin Lewis has talked about it for years. Why is it not on the curriculum? Certainly when you get to an age where it's suddenly going to become tangible. It seems extraordinary.
Yeah, because I once interviewed this maths professor who, you know, has done all this hardcore pure maths, probably like what your son's doing, and he was saying he got his tax return wrong. Like, because it's just that pure maths. It's not the applied maths that you need in everyday life.
Have you always loved this sort of thing, though, Steph? Have you always, like, even as a kid?
I have, yeah. So, like, I think I've always been obsessed with money and how you make money. And so when I was a kid, I used to sell Take That stickers at school, because I worked out at the shop where my mum was. She was a radiographer in a hospital. The shop in the hospital had the different Take That stickers that you couldn't get in the other shops.
Nice.
So I used to buy them in bulk and then sell them at school, or I'd do, like, little jumble sales with my neighbours' bits and bobs and that types of thing. So I think I always have. And then as I've got older, I've just obviously taking it to the next level of thinking about, you know, how do you invest? What are the different ways to do that? And, you know, how can you make the most of it and stop wasting money and that type of thing? So, yes, and I'm nosy. I like knowing what's going on in everyone's lives and what they're doing with their money too.
Yeah. And what about your daughter now, like the next generation? Because she's little. So in a way, it's a way of really kind of thinking, OK, how do we break this down? How do we make it easy? How do we make it tangible as well? Because at the moment, we're all on our... We've got everything on our phones. It's almost like real money doesn't exist anymore. Yeah,
it's much more difficult now to teach kids about money, as you say, because you don't have the coins to go, this is £1 and this will get you well, hardly anything these days. But, you know, all these different bits. And so what I've been doing with my little girl, she's just started school, she turns 5 soon, is showing her, like, transactions. I know this might sound a bit mad, but just saying to her, right, she understands about, you know, how you pay with your phone and your card and things. It's just saying to her, right, that costs £10. So, you know, that's the equivalent of that toy or this and that. And I'll say to her as well, like, and I'll show her the cash equivalent too, because I think that's important, is just to give that kind of tangible sense, as you say. But also I say to her, one of the things with her now is I'll say to her, if she doesn't want to go to school or if she's like, oh, why can't we do this? I'll say, well, I've got to go to work and earn some money. You've got to go to school and get smarter. And then we'll be able to have nice weekends and nice holidays. And she said to me the other day on a weekend, she was like, can we go to the cinemas? And I was like, oh, no. And she went, you need to go to work and get some money and then we can go to the cinemas. And I was like, all right, love.
I love it. A little mini J-Lo in the weekend.
Love that. She is listening, though. Now, you've got some tips for us and for our viewers here, Steph, that you can share. 3 tips that you think are going to be able to help us.
Yeah, so fundamentally, the thing I would say is always make your money pay. So when you are spending money, always think about rewards you can get for it. So, for example, I always use my credit card that gets air miles on it to buy everything, all my daily stuff. Obviously, you've got to make sure you pay it off at the end of the month, otherwise you'll be paying interest and all that. But they can soon rack up if you're using it for everything. And again, businesses are desperate for you to spend your money with them. So make sure they reward you for that, like your loyalty cards. Obviously, pretty much every retailer has some type of loyalty now. Even like your local independents will have coffee cards or whatever else. So just make sure you do that. And just there's other things as well, like cashback rewards. You can, you know, I'm sure Coupon King has been on Jordan told you about those. So I always think make your money pay. That's the first thing I would say. Okay. And then the other thing, and you know, I've throughout my life have been called Spreadsheet Steph because I'm always like, what's coming in, what's going out.
Does it give you joy when you see it fully?
Yeah, it does when I fill out my little... But there's loads of easy ways to do that now. So I just say spreadsheet your life, because if you are constantly looking at what's coming in and out, and there are loads of apps to help you do this now, like Plum, Good Budget, Spend Tracker, all of these apps will do it for you. So it might be take a photo of your receipt or just basically fill in the different bits of information about your bills and everything else. And you'll then see where you're spending money you don't realise is racking up. So the obvious one is something like coffee. You might be paying a couple of quid a day and you might be thinking, right, we need to save for the holiday. Where am I spending my money? What's coming in and out? Oh, my God, we're spending 50 quid a month on coffee. We don't need to do that.
Unless you actually see it written down and don't think about it.
I mean, it's obvious when you say it, but so many people don't do it because, as you said, Kat, you're just magically using your phone all the time. Yeah. And then the third thing I would say is, for me, you think about making smart investments. There's the obvious things like you might want to invest in your house, buying a house. You might, you know, want to put money in a savings account. But the thing I'm really interested in at the minute is investing in startups. So there are loads of incentives around putting money into startups. And you might think, hang on a minute, don't you have to be loaded? Don't you have to be one of the dragons and have millions of pounds? You don't. So you can do it with as little as a tenner. So if you've got like a tenner to spare, you might want to use one of these sites like Crowdcube or Seedrs. It's just changed its name to Republic Europe. But these types of platforms will tell you about all the different companies out there that are looking for investors. And then you can put in a bit of money and you'll get a tiny bit of equity in that business. But a couple of things that come with it is sometimes product discounts. So they might say, if it's like some type of cafe or whatever, they might give you a bit of discount. They might put your name up on the walls, things like that. There's loads of different things. But there's tax tax incentives too. So the money you put in, there's often tax relief if they're part of a scheme, which a lot of them are, where you can claim back half of that money you've put in against your tax.
Yeah.
So there's that type of thing. And then also, it might be a company that ends up doing really well.
You never know.
And it's exciting to watch, to see how they do and what's going to happen next with them.
And you can put as little as a tenner in if
you
want to.
And
especially if you like the products too.
Yeah, that's great. I've just enjoyed it. I've got like a little portfolio and I'm going on and going. And some of them are really cool inventions. And, you know, it gives you a good sense. But you have to be aware you can lose your money. You know, that's the thing with all of this. If they go bust, that goes. But there's that tax relief there.
Some lovely tips there. We'll make sure that they go on the app so everyone can go back and study them and make sure they do them. So thank you for popping in.
Amazing. Thank you.
Really loved it. There are new episodes of The Rest is Money every week and it's available to download wherever you get your podcasts. Love you, see. Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.